Okay, so we're looking at rhythm. So we're going to start by looking at rhythmic notation. Okay, so there are 5 main pieces of rhythmic notation that we look at. Starting with the biggest, we've got a semibreve. Semibreve is a circle, not filled in, with no stem. Semibreve is the French term for it. We also call it a whole note if we're using our fractions. We then have a minim. A minim, it has a stem and it's not coloured in. Minim is the French term, but it's also called a half note. We then have a crotchet. Crotchet is coloured in and has a stem. Crotchet is the French term, but we also call it a quarter note. We then have a quaver. A quaver is coloured in with a stem, but also has a tail. Quaver is the French term, but we also call it an eighth note. And then last but not least, we have a semiquaver. A semiquaver is coloured in, has a stem, but it has 2 tails. So semiquaver, semi just means half, so half a quaver. And we also call it a 16th note. The fractions are to describe a bar of 4/4. 4/4 is like our standard, sort of most default time signature. A semibreve, we call it a whole note because it's worth an entire bar of 4/4. 1 semibreve lasts an entire bar. You can have 2 minims in a bar of 4/4, therefore 1 minim is half a bar of 4/4, so it's a half note. A crotchet is worth 1/4 of a bar of 4/4, so we call it a quarter note. An eighth note, 16th note, there are 16 semiquavers in a bar of 4/4. So the name that we use as a fraction is always in relation to the fact that we're talking about a bar of 4/4. Okay? Each one of these pieces of notation also have a rest that lasts the same amount of time. For a semibreve, the rest looks like a little box hanging below a line. For a minim, the rest is the inverse of that, so it's a little box above a line. The way that we remember that is we think that a semibreve, because it's worth 4 beats, it's heavier than a minim, therefore it sinks below the line, whereas because a minim is lighter, it floats above the line. Okay. For a crotchet, we have this symbol, sort of looks like a lightning bolt, maybe a number 3. For a quaver, it almost looks like a little number 7, and for a semiquaver, it's the same, but again with an extra line, an extra tail. So those are our rhythmic notations and their rest equivalents. The amount of beats that each one is worth. Semibreve is worth 4 beats, a minim is worth 2 beats, a crotchet is worth 1 beat, a quaver is worth half a beat, and a semiquaver is worth a quarter of a beat. Okay? Now, that's our rhythmic notation. We also have a tool in rhythm that we use called dotted rhythms. Okay, dotted rhythm. When you add a dot to a piece of notation, rhythmic notation, it adds half of the value of the note it's attached to. So if I have a crotchet's worth 1 beat, but if I put a dot to it, the dot becomes half of what the crotchet is, which means that the dot is worth half a beat. That means that a dotted crotchet is worth 1.5 beats. If I was to have a dotted minim, a minim is worth 2 beats, and the dot is worth half of the thing it's attached to. Therefore, the dot is worth 1 beat, so that's 2 beats plus 1 beat. A dotted minim lasts for 3 beats, etc., etc. Anything that you put a dot onto adds half of its value. You can also put a dot on a rest. So if I have a 1 beat rest, the rest is worth 1 beat. The dot is worth half of that, so that's half a beat. So a dotted 1 beat rest is 1.5 beats. A rest just means that you don't play any music for that amount of time, but the music still passes, you just don't play anything. It's like a pause. Okay, next up we're going to explore what a time signature is. Okay, a time signature is made up of 2 numbers stacked on top of each other, the most common being 4/4, like 90% of music is in 4/4. And it's made up that statistic, but it's represented, okay? So what is 4/4 actually telling us? Well, the 2 numbers are giving us different information. The top number, we ask ourselves a question, the top number is how many? The answer to that question is literally just the number that's there. The answer to how many is 4. The bottom number is of what? Of what does 4 represent? Well, a crotchet is called a quarter note. So when you see 4 at the bottom of the time signature, it's referring to a quarter note. So how many is 4? Of what is crotchets, quarter notes, 4 crotchets, 4 quarter notes, whatever way you want to call it. What that means is that a bar 4/4 lasts the equivalent of 4 crotchets. Okay. So if I did a bar of 6/8, the answer to how many is 6. The answer to of what? 8 refers to 8th note. 8th note is the other name for a quaver. So a bar of 6/8 has 6 quavers on it. Or 6/8 notes, whatever way you want to say it. So hypothetically, I could have a bar of 527/16, and that looks insane, but all it's telling me is how many? 527, and of what? Well, 16 represents 16th note. 16th note is the other name for a semiquaver. So a bar of 527/16 would have 527 semiquavers in it, or the equivalent of 527 semiquavers. That's all a time signature is referring to. Okay. Now, if we have different rhythms, we need to make sure that we can add them up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly come up with a wee rhythmic sequence. I'm just going to make something up, and I'm going to add it together, just to show that we can add rhythm together. Okay, so let's just see what this adds up to. We'll put another rest in, just for the sake of it. So that's worth 1 beat, so that's 1, that's 1 beat, that's 1, that's worth 2 beats, so 2, that's worth half a beat. Both of these are quavers. When you have quavers next to each other, you join them at the top with a tail. Same with semi-quavers, you join them but with 2 lines. So that's half a beat and half a beat, so together, that's 1. This is worth 4, so it's a semi-breathe. This is a dotted crotchet, therefore it's 1 plus half of that, that's 1.5. And then this is a semi-quaver plus a quaver with a dot. The semi-quaver is worth a quarter. The quaver is worth half. That dot is also worth a quaver. Or sorry, quarter. That's worth a semi-quaver is worth a quarter. The quaver is worth a half. The dot is half of that, so it's another quarter again. So together, that's 2 halves plus a half. That whole thing is just worth 1. So let's add it up. 1, 2, 3. Come back to that half. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Add those 2 halves together, 12. So that rhythm adds up to 12. Okay, so if I want to play different time signatures, we need to sort of give a demonstration of what those feel like. So in 4/4, that might be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. But in 5/4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2 to 6, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so 1, 3 to 7, 5, 6, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. The last thing we're going to talk about is meter. Meter is how we actually count a phrase of music. Whenever you see something's in a time signature, doesn't mean you just count those numbers in order. We have to put pulse and accents on certain notes. So for example, a really common meter that usually is how it's done, a bar of 6/8, how many of what is 6 quavers? But again, 90% of the time, 95% of the time, 6/8 has a meter of 3 plus 3. What that means is that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have a group of 3 plus a group of 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ba, da, da, ba, 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 which would look like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Most of the time, that's how 6/8 is done. But if we wanted to, we could change the meter. Okay, we could change the meter from 3 to 2 plus 2 plus 2, in which case instead of feeling like let me draw that in, instead of feeling like 1 2 2 ba ba ba, it would be like 1 2 1 2 1 2 ba 2 ba 2 ba 2 ba 2 ba 2 ba 2. I'm not singing any faster or clapping any faster or making it sound any faster. It's just that the pulse and the meter feels completely different. If I have a bar of 5/4, I can decide, do I want that to just be like 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. In other words, it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, dun, dun, go, gan, go, dun, dun, boom, gan, boom. Or do I want an accent in some place? Could I have a 3 plus 2 where it goes 1, 2, 3, bum bum ba ba da bum bum 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See how it's 3 plus 2? Or maybe I could change that up and have 2 plus 3, where it goes ba da ba da ba da ba bum bum. It changes the frequency or it changes the feeling. Sorry, 2 plus 3. It changes the feeling. If I think about a famous song like, a jazz song like Blue Rondo a la Turk by Dave Brubeck, that's in 9/8, but it doesn't go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, da ba da da ba da ba da da. It actually goes 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 3, and you can see that adds up to 9. The way that it feels is ba da ba da ba da ba da da ba da ba da ba da ba da da. That's a really famous, a really common kind of Baltic or Balkan dance rhythm. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, ba da da 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And then the last time the meter changes to 3 plus 3 plus 3. So it goes 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, ba da da ba da ba da ba da ba da da ba da ba da ba da ba da da ba da da ba da da ba da da. So that in itself actually changes the meter. If I think of Here Comes the Sun is a section in 11/8, in which it does 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 2. Ba da da ba da da ba da da ba da ba da da ba da da ba da da ba da 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, da da ba da da. But you can make those numbers whatever you want. Meter tells you how to feel the piece of music. It tells you how the groove in the piece of music exists and how it's sort of divided into its own subdivisions. That's the difference between when we think about the meter of a piece of music and the time signature of a piece of music.